So some people would say owning five Renaults is enough. Never enough.
When opportunity strikes.
The sixth Renault.
The sixth Renault. Watch the cars come.
So this bad boy here is was a rescue. It was a rescue Renault.
This is the rescue Renault.
It had been stickered by the council.
In its local shire.
And it was going to be towed away. Rego was up. The fellow who owned it didn't have a license anymore, so it wasn't looking good. It would have been towed and scrapped.
Sold.
So Luke's picked it up. Of course, it's got a challenge.
What have we done? What are we doing today, Ross?
Another Clio collection.
Another Clio for the collection. I haven't even hold it yet. If she ever goes onto the channel, say you're storing it. That's what that was the plan. That's right. Good hands. Cover the window because it didn't go up. What had happened is he'd lost the key. He threw the key out with his old bottles of beer in the recycling. He pulled the house apart, couldn't find it.
Is that not the right bin for a Renault key?
No, it's not the right bin. These Renault keys, I know they're junk, but don't bin them because you'll have another level of problem starting your Renault. So Dolphin 172 arrived with no key. You've watched the footage on that. So what we've got here is how to get out your lock barrel if you haven't got a key. So the option was spend £200 or 400 Australian dollars, get a locksmith come out here, cut the new key to suit the car, and then code the transponder that's in the key. And I thought to myself, well, I've got from the Meglio failed project that I bought off some other guy that didn't finish it, and I had the key, I'd retained the lock barrel, and I'd retained the ECU and the UCH. So I had everything I needed, all in an ESP version from a slightly later year. So it was, so just to be clear, it was a 172. It was an ESP version. It was the black color, and it also had the single door lock, not the double door lock. So it was about an 03 or something. Anyway, so what my biggest problem is that I knew that once I tested the UCH that all I'd need to do is get this key in. And I actually did the test. So the first thing I did is when I had the barrel, is once I plugged the UCH and the ECU in, I took the barrel that was still like this one here, and it had the key. All I did was undo the plug, put it up next to the transponder, which is there, and then turn the key barrel. So I literally made a dummy key sitting there, and that's how I started the car. But it still had this situation, and this is what I'm about to talk about, the situation where the ignition barrel lock was still engaged. So I couldn't steer the thing, and that was the problem we had when we'd loaded it on the trailer.
Yeah, that's why we had to undo that.
Undo the nut down at the bottom of the rack there.
Yeah,
take that
right.
single bolt out, flip it up. So you're going to say, so once you know everything's going to work, all you have to do is, I'll try not to get too much sun in this, let's go around that way. You have to cut the barrel out. Now, the barrels have this retainer here, those two little lugs, and you have to put the key in and basically turn it to position 1, jig it a bit, and that will push down, and your barrel will come out of the steering column. So it leads down there. I think I've done another shoot. So there's the two little buttons there. You take the one screw out that's on top, which I've put back in this one. There's a screw on top, those two little things. So what I had to do is simply, I got my striking pry bar, and I cut down there and I cut down there to expose. I'll just put this one here, so if you were looking at it, it would have looked like that initially. That's sort of the orientation. and then I pried back, just ripped off that stainless cover, and then I took a small drill bit and I plunge drilled straight down into the alloy casing to try and line up pretty much in line with that locking device that retains it. I drilled 2 of those, then I went to an oversized, slightly larger drill, drilled it out, put it all on the little mat so it caught all the swarf, made sure I didn't get any in my existing barrel. You can be clean with this stuff. Once I got it all out, I was then able, there was nothing to hold the pressure to keep those little tents, those little pushes down, so I pushed that out, pulled the whole thing out. So it came with no key. It was parked illegally on the road. It had the instruction to remove it
because the rego was up.
The rego was up. He didn't have the money for the. Well, he probably did have the money, but what was the point? He wanted to sell it to me. I didn't need it running, and I didn't know how long it was going to take to get the thing on the road.
With no key.
With no key. So, fortunately, I had a key set, key barrel, key, UCH, and ECU. I did a few tests on this one. It was good. So I could have spent another $400. Have someone come out, or £200, have someone come out and make me a new key. But I thought, what's spending $400 on a car that already cost me too much when I've got all the stuff sitting there? So what I did, first of all, just take you through it. So the first thing I did was I hot wired the car so it wouldn't start, but I had the spare barrel. So I put the spare barrel in, turned the key, and that basically lit the car up. So it sent full power through to the ECU, which I've currently got just sitting here. So I had the ECU, I had put in just put the barrel in first. So I put the barrel so I could turn the ignition, then I put my scan tool on it, and I read the codes in the system. So what I wanted to be sure of is, what can happen, as you know, is the UCH can fail, the ECU might fail. So I could get a guy out and spend $300 trying to fix it, and all I'd end up with is a call out for $300 and no repair because you get told the ECU doesn't work. So I did all those checks. So I got a good ECU, so that was an option. But then I had the spare ECU and the UCH, so I thought I'll throw it in because it matches this car. So I put it in, I then left the barrel in, and then I was able to use the transponder reader to read the code, and I started the car with the ignition barrel, the original barrel still in the thing, no steering. Got the thing to run. So the thing starts, it runs. So I know I've got a good key, good barrel, good ECU, checked the fault codes, all clear, all good and running there. So then,
where does the UCH live?
UCH, okay. So
the
those of you
ECU's there.
played with the UCH and you want to go finding a UCH, be my guest. I'll give you a quick rundown. So the UCH lives just above your bonnet release and in behind here, which is, so it's actually stuck up and it lives on a little ledge. So its own little hole it lives in. Has one screw that goes through there, and it has a metal bracket and a bolt that goes through the bottom. So basically my method of removal is I take the nut out, the bolt out, which is that one there. So once that bolt's gone, then you can slide that bracket off. Look in there, there'll probably be, will probably put a cable tie in the models I've seen. Cut the cable tie. Make sure this is nice and loose, release it away so it gives you a little bit more movement. After you remove, the best thing to do is to get right under there first of all and remove all of the relays that sit behind it that control different things. So they lift off the back of the UCH. Once they're lifted off, and then undo all the cup. There's 3 plugs in the top of it, and then you can jiggle it out and get it out.
Yeah, right.
So easy. But that's why the black one had the problem where someone drilled a hole just there.
Yeah, and it got water damage
down that, and this is actually supported on that ledge.
Yep.
So the poor old the UCH had no chance. But if we do a crash course in, anyone who doesn't know, the crash course in how the transponder works is the key picks it up, it sends it to the UCH. That signal, when it agrees that the key has the right signal or the right transponders, giving the right message to the UCH then sends a signal to the ECU that says this is cleared for takeoff. You can supply all the ignition to and fuel and fire this motor up. So what happens is there is the thing they call an immobilizer bypass, and all that is, it's just a pattern generator that you plug in and it just sends the signal, because this is all on CAN bus. It's not on actual, it's not a voltage supply, it's a signal supply, so it's ones and zeros effectively.
Yep.
So it sends the right sequence of ones and zeros through to our friend at the ECU. The ECU says, yeah, fire up. So that's the other way you could have fixed it if I didn't want it, if I had a dodgy key. So remember that option. But it is introducing another piece of circuitry in already a dodgy car.
Yeah.
You've got to cut wires and fit it off. So if you can do the fix with the transponder and it's working all right, they're relatively reliable. It's only the chip that seems to be the failing point on them, or the UCH gets water in. If your UCH is cooked, it's going to control everything. So it's not just your transponder, it's, you know, your lighting, it's your AC, everything will start pulling down.
So the ECU, the UCH and the key are all a match pair.
Got to be a match
So yeah, if someone's trying to buy an ECU and you don't have the other two
you can get
items,
the key made. So
you can get a key made, right.
It's not the end of the world, but just cost that into it.
Do you need another one to clone from, or?
No, you just need to, you need to have the right software.
Yep.
And so you're basically a locksmith.
Yep.
So they be able to turn the ignition to on.
Yep.
Fire up the ECU and the UCH, and inside the UCH they should be able to pull out the code, and then take your new fob, lay it in their coder and code the fob. So they take a blank one and they code it with the right code.
Yeah, right, gotcha.
In their little platform thing that basically send the message to this to store it, and then it's stored for life, and it'll only start that car.
All right, let's
So you want to hear it start?
let's start it up.
So what we've done to the engine, what have we done to the engine? Nothing. Put water in it. Check for a water.
Oh, right.
That's all I've done. Yep, here we go, here we go. It's got a dodgy sports exhaust. It's got a major coolant leak. Gonna need a new pipe.
All right.
It's the pipe money can't buy.
Oh, is that gone, has it?
Yeah, got coated in oil.
Yeah.
The guy did a bodge up on it, so to keep going. It's missing a bit of bracketry and a bit of other stuff.
So that pipe, it is, money can buy it, but it's just like...
Can't buy them new.
Can't buy them new, right.
You can only buy them as a silicon version.
Which is about 800 bucks or
No,
something?
I don't think the silicons, I think that's only like about 600.
Okay.
Yeah. And when they were available, in rubber, they were quoting $850 Australian.
Yeah.
And there's none available to my knowledge. And I don't think at $800 you want to buy them.
No.
Anyway, I think they're waiting for Renault to build another batch, but they're a specific pipe that only goes on an F4R in Clio.
So that's where you got to get on top of your power steering pump leak, because it'll leak down on that hose.
And potentially...
So the leak itself might not be a problem, but when it damages that hose, that's expensive.
That's the drama. So yeah, that's your main causes. There's your other, I think that one's there's your knock sensor. Should be up there in the middle there. And that's your oil pressure. And that is your pressure sensor for your power steering. So your power steering is the worst one, and this is where it fails. And it's a $30 switch. You unscrew it, you screw it back in, and it stops leaking. And obviously when you're doing your oil changes and the oil goes down there, just clean it up after your oil change.
Yeah.
You know, that's all you have to do, and the thing will last as long as it's going to last.
But there you go, from being pushed onto a trailer with no key, steering, to running.
One day, about a day's work.
Day's work.
Good day's work, and I've done a couple of other things. I've had the dash out just to change the instrument cluster. It all cracked, so I changed the cover on that. Cleaned a bit of the glass off. There's a few more bits and pieces to do on it. It's a bit rough. A bit of polish. Got a few clunks in the front end.
Yeah.
I put the dealer plate on and took it for just a quick run this morning before the traffic got too bad.
It ran okay?
It runs okay, it's just got clunks. It's just got depth. And I remember this car from when I was in it one other time. It's just going to need engine mounts and steadies.
Yeah.
God knows why. I got to get it on a hoist first.
But there you go.
Just pleased I don't have to push it. It's not stuck on the trailer.
Exactly.
You never know when another Clio might come around.
That's right.
Another rescue mission.
Owning a trailer is dangerous.
It is. Don't buy trailers, people. Just bring home more cars. And that's not good for your marriage.